Hi, I'm Karen, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I tricked my husband into believing I was pregnant. You may want to know how that came to happen and how I lied to him. Let me tell you all about it. I need to get all of this off my chest. Since I was young, I've always really wanted a family. I knew I had to be in the right situation to have one. When I finally got a good job and owned my very own house, I knew the time had arrived. Around the time I met the man I thought was my soulmate, John. John and I met online on Tinder during the summer. After a few weeks of chatting online, we decided to meet in person for some coffee and a bite to eat. We had an instant connection. In just a few days, I was blissfully in love and wanted nothing more than to be by his side. We couldn't wait to spend the rest of our lives together and to start our own family. I'll admit that we rushed into a relationship and were married 6 months after meeting. I now know that I should have been far more cautious. Marrying him was a big mistake. At the time, though, it felt like the right thing to do. A few months after our wedding, John cooked me this amazing dinner. I was happy he was being so sweet and asked what was the occasion. He said, "Because I love you." And that was when I also told him the great news. I'm pregnant! He was ecstatic! His dream of becoming a father and having a big family was going to become a reality in a few short months. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. My belly began getting bigger and bigger, perhaps even bigger than it should normally be, honestly. That's when I went to the doctor's checkup and returned with brand new news. We were having twins! Of course, he was incredibly happy, but the news didn't stop coming. The next time I visited the doctor, I came back telling him we were carrying triplets, and then 4. During my last ultrasound, my husband said, "We're having quintuplets." He couldn't believe it. Sure, it seemed like too many kids at once, but I knew John and I could deal with it. Aside from the surprises, everything else went smoothly through the pregnancy. I showed him the doctor's reports as well as the ultrasound pictures. Our babies were growing healthy and strong. But when the delivery day came around and we rushed off to the hospital, he received some shocking news. "My Karen wasn't pregnant," he said. How could that have happened, you might ask yourself? Well, let me go back a few months for you to understand. We were very excited about having lots of kids at once, but he was constantly asking me if we could support so many children. I told him we had a good salary and that he could get a second job if needed, but he wasn't convinced. I heard John on the phone one day talking to his friend. I think he was catching on. He said to his friend, "She told me she suddenly came up with the idea of asking people for donations. Little did she know I knew that this had been her plan all along. She wanted to rob innocent people of their hard-earned money." I took it upon myself to launch a GoFundMe page so that we could receive donations, and boy did I get so many gifts for us. Without delay, people started donating clothes, food, furniture, and everything else parents would need for their babies. People were super generous. I couldn't believe everything that was being sent over. And the money. I'm almost ashamed to say we received over $100,000. Our story got so big that the news caught wind of it. All that publicity got us even more gifts. And a real estate company offered to get us a big house for free if we agreed to do some publicity stunts for them once the babies were born. John wasn't so sure about it, but I accepted it for us before even asking him about it. We arrived at the hospital and I tried to find a doctor. That's when John discovered no one at the hospital knew about me. There were no records about my pregnancy or that I had ever been at the hospital for any of the ultrasounds or tests. He couldn't understand what was going on. He even thought that maybe I was so stressed that I had driven to the wrong hospital. A nurse took him aside to show him the results of the blood tests they had conducted on me. He found out I was never pregnant to begin with. He was bewildered and distressed by the news. I showed all the typical signs of pregnancy, from weight gain to morning sickness and even lactation. In rare cases, however, a woman can convince herself that she's pregnant. This condition is known as phantom pregnancy. It was then that he found out something else that shocked him to his very core. For a few weeks now, the police had started to investigate me. When they arrested me, all the lies suddenly fell apart. John found out that a previous boyfriend talked to the cops and told them that I once told him that I was pregnant with twins, and that I took extreme measures to raise money for the non-existent children. So this isn't the first time I've done something like that. John still is not sure if I'm a sick person who tricked myself into believing I was pregnant, or a scammer who used babies to steal thousands of dollars off of unsuspecting victims. After returning all the gifts and donations, John decided to move away in order to live a quiet life away from the public eye. He divorced me as soon as he could, and I haven't heard anything from him since. I was convicted and in jail. He never wanted to hear from me again. Thanks for watching. Have you ever met someone who lied to get things they wanted? Let us know in the comments. Please don't forget to subscribe for future stories and check out other stories in our channel.